opened classes yesterday, Monday. There have remained groups of students trying to disrupt the classes and put barricades on the campus, which has been disruptive. I would say yesterday was a partial success at opening. Many lectures took place, but many were also disrupted. The libraries were not open, and our shuttles, which help get people from residences to the campus, were not working. And this was because we are trying to ensure that the level of security is only raised as is necessary in order to manage the disruptions. We don't want to increase the level of security excessively because we think that can sometimes provoke further reaction. We did, however, increase the security today, and so the shuttles have been running today. There are no barricades. The campus is open. The vast majority of lectures are happening normally, but there is still a group of students, I think about 200, who are moving around the campus, attempting to get into buildings. We've been able to ensure that the buildings are closed to them and that the activities in the buildings continue.
Some would say that there is an extremely high amount of security on the campus that completely outnumbers the amount of students protesting, almost 4 to 1. Well,
I don't think that's the case. I don't know if you know the number of students protesting, but I know the number of security people. Do you know the number? How many students are protesting, do you think?
I'm saying from what we've seen with our eyes, it seems as though the security has outnumbered the students.
No, well, they don't outnumber the students, but anyway, even if they did, that would be a measure of success. The point of the security is to prevent students from disrupting the classes, from obstructing the roads, and from intimidating people, not the students, the protesters who want to do that. Let me always emphasize that there are a lot of students who support the cause and who think that for example, free education for all is something we should be campaigning for, and this is not a fight with those students. This is simply about ensuring that those students who want to prevent others from studying are not able to do so. So we'll bring on whatever security is required, and if it does require 4 to 1, we'll do that. Let me emphasize, though, that the important thing is that the security should be restrained, they should not be provocative, and we should ensure that there's no violence and no escalation of violence. And everything I've seen on the campus suggests that this has been successful.
Can I say something about the security and the protesters? The protesters do break up into smaller groups. So it's possible that the whole group, you're not seeing the whole group.
I have seen, look, we were there since 4 a.m. yesterday until 6 p.m. in the evening. I've seen every protester that there is.
Okay, good. Good, yeah.
But now, six students were arrested yesterday.
Yes.
The charges were withdrawn today.
Yeah, by the police, in court, was it? Yeah.
Yes, by the MPA, they withdrew the charges.
Right.
Now, allegedly, the students were arrested for very minor things. They were accused of intimidation when there's no video evidence of intimidation. They were accused of malicious damage of property because they were drawing with chalk on the tables. Mm-hmm. Now, this seems quite skewed in terms of the security. Almost, it seems as though they are looking for any reason to arrest the students. What are your comments on that?
Well, the police conducted the arrest. The police would have the evidence, which I have not seen. They would have either presented the charges or not, and if the NPA thought that there weren't charges, I absolutely accept that. What we are concerned about is to stop a disruption. So if a student disrupts a class, that is a breach of the code of practice for students. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to stop other people from studying. We will initiate our own internal disciplinary processes against those students. If we've got the evidence, I haven't seen what evidence the police had, but we'll do our own internal disciplinary process. I imagine there was a lecturer in the class. I imagine there are students. We'll try to get evidence from the lecturer and the students to say what actually happened. We know that these students were arrested from inside the classroom, or detained from inside the classroom. We'll check whether they were entitled to be in the class by seeing whether they were registered for that course. So we'll put together a whole lot of evidence which, from my current information, will lead to a prosecution for disrupting a class inside the university student disciplinary process. And that will have its own consequences. The court process and arrest is something quite different.
Okay, because understandably the MPA withdrew the charges because there was basically no evidence.
No, but there's a big difference between a criminal charge. So it's not a crime in the country's legal system to disrupt a class. It is a crime if you intimidate people. it is a crime to trespass. But if they weren't trespassing because they were legitimate students and they were allowed to be in the classroom, or if there's no evidence that they were actually intimidating people to leave the classroom, then I understand that they've broken no law. But at the same time, they could have, without breaking a law, which is a criminal, they could have broken a rule of the university. And if they break the rule of the university, then the university takes responsibility for the student disciplinary process.
In terms of going forward, what is going to happen going forward?
To those 6 students?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, going forward in general, what is going to happen?
Well, our effort is to ensure that all classes happen and that the campus is open. We will bring in as much security as is necessary, but not more than is necessary, to make sure that without using stun grenades, without using armor, our guards have not used shields, they have not used batons, they have not used pepper spray, they've used none of the things that raise the tension and violence. But to do that, you need numbers. When a large group of students breaks up into 20 groups of 5 students each, runs through a building and disturbs the lectures, 20 lectures in that building, you need to have as many or more guards in order to, security officers, in order to prevent that from happening. The more you have actually, especially if you can do it in a way that is not threatening, that does not raise the temperature of the environment, the more likely you are to minimize the violence that could occur. So our goal is to ensure that classes happen, to ensure there are no barricades, to ensure that the shuttles run, to ensure that staff are not intimidated and hauled out of their offices, or off the assembly, or off the kitchen lines in the residences, and to ensure that the classes continue. In parallel with that, the door is open to any student group that wishes to talk to us, or staff group, about how to solve the problem, to address their grievances. It seems to me that the main grievance, there are 2. One is that there should be free education for everyone. That is not in the university's capacity to address, but certainly to conduct conversations and to hear their views and to try to persuade them of our views is something we can do. We have appealed to government to say, find a solution more quickly than the Judicial Commission is likely to do, which would only be late next year. And we're aligned with the students, the National Student Movement, about wanting to see some answers now. That's the national issue. The local issues have been primarily around the call for an institutional reconciliation commission. We've supported that. We supported that before the protest started. But we don't want to activate that unilaterally from the side of the executive, because then it will be rejected. Clearly, we've got to shape something which the students feel comfortable participating in, and therefore it has to be co-shaped, co-owned with the students and with any of the student groups, not just the students who are in the Shackville TRC group, but also with the students who are concerned about a rape culture.